Are you a business owner or entrepreneur who's had great success in the business world, and now you want to launch a speaking career to share your message with the world? If that's you, then listen up. 25-year speaking industry veteran Brett Ridgway has released his latest special report, 3 key things entrepreneurs must master to build a profitable speaking business. To pick up your copy, go to brettridgway.com/freebie. Welcome to the Spotlight on Speaking show with Brett Ridgway, where you'll learn the keys to building a profitable speaking business from speaking industry pros. Each week, we interview a great guest who will share his or her speaking journey, identify what their keys to success have been, and highlight some critical mistakes they've made along the way that you'll want to avoid. Be sure to visit our website at spotlightonspeaking.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, sit back, tune in, and get ready to meet this week's guest.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Spotlight on Speaking show with Brett Ridgway. I am your host, and I'm excited to have as my guest today, Sabrina Victoria. Sabrina is an entrepreneur at heart. Her company, Human Better 365, is the catalyst behind her community, her nation. She focuses on building confidence, finding your voice, and stepping into the real you. Sabrina works closely with solopreneurs who are striving to hit 6-figure years in order to help them build out the structure they need to streamline their time and take their income to the next level. For over a decade, she has strived to get people the tools they need to rise and human better. She's a speaker, author, host of her talk show, founder of Sober Society, and has built and co-built multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses in her lifetime. She now dedicates her life to helping others rise mentally, emotionally, financially, and physically in order to find real wealth in their lives. Welcome, Sabrina Victoria, to the Spotlight on Speaking show.
Yes, thank you so much, Brett, for having me.
Well, I'm excited to have you here today because we were talking a couple 3 weeks ago, Sabrina, in anticipation of doing this interview, and you just have a fascinating backstory that I would like to share with people, or have you share with people, because I feel that it's truly an inspirational story that has a message that other people need to hear. So I'm just going to open the floor up to you initially to tell a little bit about your backstory, and then we'll get into your speaking journey in a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to say, while I was living out my story, I did not appreciate my story whatsoever. So, I do tell it with some vigor and vim now. However, during it was a very dark, depressive, anxiety-filled time in my life. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I got pregnant at the age of 20, and that was really the huge pivot in my life that changed the trajectory of everything I had envisioned for myself. When I say I got pregnant with no husband. Emphasis on the no husband part. And because of that, being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, my entire community and my entire immediate family cut me off, just dropped me like a hot potato, basically, as soon as I announced that I was keeping my baby. And I led this stereotypical single mom, just broke life of absolutely no money. Digging in my couch cushions for 25 cents to put gas in my car, eviction notices on my apartment door, real dark thoughts of suicide, and just having no financial fortitude on how to dig myself out of the situation that I was in, living literally less than paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I had a rolling balance of negative $172 in my bank account at any given time. Soon after that, I met a man, and I thought that man was given to me by God because he had money. And I ignored all of the red flags. And within a very short amount of time, I fell hook, line, and sinker for all of his little tricks. And they weren't presented to me as tricks. They were presented to me as gifts. For instance, leave your place because you can't afford it anyways, move into my place and just keep house. Why don't you quit your job because your job sucks anyways? And why don't you work for me and we'll build an empire together? And side note, come work for me meant 14 to 16 hours working, making about $200 to $250 a week, and still broke, still living paycheck to paycheck, still having zero money in my account at the end of every month because I'm paying for daycare, I'm paying for gas, I'm paying for insurance, I'm still paying for things. So still broke. And long story short, after 8 years, I turn around. We've built a business from about 100,000 a year to well over $1 million a year. We have 5 houses paid in full, 12 cars paid in full, 0 debt. Nothing is in my name, and I still have no money, literally no money in my account. So I one day was on the floor in the bathroom, just having a total mental breakdown. At this point, the mental abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and financial abuse was times 10. And I was having just a total breakdown in the bathroom, the kind where you're crying and you're screaming at the same time. And I Googled. I always say Google saved my life. I Googled, why is my boyfriend bullying me? Because I didn't know any other vernacular other than the word bully. And this entire world that I knew nothing about, narcissism, empathy, codependency, lack of finances, no confidence, no self-esteem, just hit me right in the face. And not only did I recognize that there was a ton wrong with my partner, there was also a ton wrong with me. And all of a sudden, I got presented with this realization that a person can know a lot of things, right? I could sell. I could be in front of tens, hundreds of people presenting. I could create sales tactics. I could create marketing flows. I could hire. I could train with confidence. Yet there was this whole other part of my life that I was completely blind to. I had a complete blind spot on real healthy communication, real healthy relationships, boundary setting. And it just kind of hit me of like, you think you know all the things in life and you don't know anything. And so it kind of led me down this journey of personal development, of being better, making myself better. And I opened up a secret bank account. Soon after that, I started 3 online secret businesses. And over the course of 4 years, I was able to collect 50 grand, which does not seem like a lot of money, but I felt like a millionaire. And just one random day, I literally just ran away. I took my son, our clothes, and my bicycle. That's all I took. I left everything else behind. I started all over again with a mattress on the floor. And now I am fully dedicated to allowing a space for individuals to get educated on things that they did not previously know, that they didn't know.
Well, the lesson there in my mind, Sabrina, is it's never too late to find your voice, and to, your past doesn't determine your future. And so you can overcome even the most severe of negative situations and truly become an inspiration to others. So thank you for sharing your story. So I want to talk about your speaking a little bit, because you mentioned even when you were in those dark times, you were doing presentations and speaking and all that. So, how far back do we have to go to your quote first speaking engagement, and what was your topic at that time?
Yeah. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So I've literally been speaking door to door basically since I was like 5 years old. First time I was on stage, I was probably 12 in front of a congregation of about 100, 120 people. And, my speaking has just kind of progressed from there. My ex and I, the one that I was speaking about, ran sales crews. So, those sales crews were anywhere between 20 people to, 70 people in a room at one time. And teaching sales, sales techniques, getting up and even doing presentations, like real life presentations of what sales looks like in front of a room full of people. And the interesting thing about my story is when I shifted into running sales crews, it's a male dominated arena. We were doing door-to-door straight commission newspaper sales back then, which just sounds like prehistoric.
Just shoot me.
Yeah, it sounds prehistoric now, but that's what we were doing. And so, when I say speaking, I'm not speaking in front of a co-ed room. I'm speaking in front of a male dominated, 98% of these people are men. And keeping the attention, keeping the energy, and keeping the motivation at a level 10 in order to motivate these individuals.
So let's segue, Sabrina, over to your current company, Human Better 365. How do you use speaking to help build your brand and build your company and reach out to more people to be of support to them?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, anywhere that I can and every chance that I get, getting in front of a room, whether it's virtual now or in person, but incredibly important. And that's one of the things that I talk to my community about all the time is perfecting a speech, perfecting, some sort of a lecture, workshop speech is incredibly important for your entrepreneurial business journey. And learning how to share your story in an inspirational way with a moral or with a twist into the niche that you are now teaching in, and how the emotional connection between yourself and the person that you are talking to is what creates the vibration towards your industry or towards your business.
So how do you build that rapport? How do you make that connection?
I mean, emotion is what I work off of. I know a lot of people don't do that. There's all different kinds of speeches. I mean, there's informative, there's inspirational, there's transformational speeches. And I think there's even more than that. I think there's maybe 5 or 6. Me, myself, I use more of an inspiration or a transformation type spiel, encouraging change, encouraging pivots in people's lives. And that's kind of what I teach myself, or teach my my community to do, is to go more that realm of hitting the emotion. I believe that humans are emotional beings. I believe that we connect through emotion and we buy through emotion. And that's really where my, expertise lies.
All right. So do you consider yourself, Sabrina, to be primarily a keynote presenter, a platform selling speaker, or just a speaker who uses it as a business building tool?
I would say business building. You would probably be able to answer that question better than I would, actually. But yeah, when at the end of pretty much everything that I do, as far as speaking goes, I'm always pulling people into my business, pulling people into my community. I'm not necessarily selling, but there is always a CTA, a call to action at the end of all of my spiels to join us in this journey of join my community to, my vision is to create the largest all-female community on the planet. So I'm fully dedicated to that. So
how do you measure the success of a speech, and not in terms just of the percentage of the audience that decides to join your movement or whatever, but what makes for an impactful speech and one that you said nailed it?
Nailed it. I mean, I can feel it as a person, but of course the vibration of the audience, the claps. I have had a couple of standing ovations in my speaking journey thus far. I do hope to have more. That is always, a feel-good feeling. For me, I mean, the amount of people that come up to me, right? If a handful of people come up to me afterwards when I'm down in the crowd or throughout the duration of the conference or the event or whatever it is, and does more than just good job, but actually sits and says, hey, this was so inspirational. Oh my gosh, that hit me, or whatever it is. That, that's obvious, but that to me is a feel-good feeling to let me know that I did a good job for sure.
What tool or tools do you use, Sabrina, to get your speaking engagements? What's worked best for you to land more speaking engagements?
To land more?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. So, I'm online all the time. I know a lot of people don't necessarily resonate with that, but I'm online. I am constantly speaking to an audience of some sort, whether it's through lives, whether it's through podcasting, whether it's through panels, my social media, my reels, my stories, and I'm also posting all the time. So any previous speaking engagements that I have been on, I cut those, chop those, and I'm repurposing them consistently so that people can see me. And the idea is whether the person holding the event sees or somebody else who's involved in that event sees, which is usually what happens, I can get pulled into, different events or different conferences to speak in some level, whether it's like a keynote type where it's just me on stage or on a panel of women, which I've done that too.
All right, so you mentioned you have an audacious goal of building the largest women's network out there. So how large is Her Nation right now?
We're actually just at the cusp of 2,000.
Okay.
So we're 2.5 years old, and we just hit 1,900 members 3 days ago. So we did a nice, big, awesome celebration for that. And we're well on our way to 2,000. So super excited about that. And within Her Nation, there are several different areas. We host a mastermind, we do wisdom studios, we have a networking group that we do. So there's a lot of different things within Her Nation to really create community amongst each other.
All right. So going back to the speaking specifically, what maybe would be your 3 biggest tips that you would advise an aspiring speaker of that would help them have greater success in whatever realm of speaking they're doing?
Practice. When I first started, when I first started on my own, right, as a coach, let's just put it that way. When I started on my own as a coach, that was different because with sales, with my church, it was just like part of the thing, right? With Jehovah's Witnesses, just part of it. You don't like ask. They're just like, okay, you're part of this. It's time to get on stage, and they schedule you out and you just get on stage. Same with sales. It's like, that was my job, was to be in front. But when I was on my own, running my own deal, you kind of like have to create it yourself. You have to like find these things yourself. You have to like prove that you're worthy of. So this might not work for everybody, but when I first started, I was in the coaching arena of narcissism. So I spoke a lot to females in distress, domestic violence, and I would just go to women's shelters. I would Google up women's shelters within like a 10, 15 mile radius of myself, and asked to speak, in homes, in shelters, in facilities, and then also sobriety to really sharpen my speaking skills and my Q&A skills, right? Because I think that that's another thing that's very important. Some of these events a lot of times open it up to the audience, live QA, which I think is so amazing because it really allows you to be able to connect directly to the audience, so much more powerful. But being able to be quick-witted enough to answer those questions, you have no idea what they're going to be in an intelligent way, I think is a very strong trait. That's not the word I'm looking for, but trait to have in order to be able to get onto bigger stages. And, those are free. You can do those for free. They're always looking for somebody, and that creates the confidence in you. It creates the content, which can then put you into other events and conferences.
All right, so number 1 is practice, and it sounds like number 2 and number 3 could be practice, but give me a different number 2, if you would.
Ooh, oh, okay, cool. So practice. Number two, I mean, I always go up with at least one piece of paper. I know not everybody does that, but so that I stay on task, I always go up with one piece of paper with my bullet points. So sometimes it's 3 bullet points and sometimes it's 7 bullet points. It just kind of depends.
Are you a PowerPointer then? No.
Yeah, I have done PowerPoints, not always. I'm actually kind of changing the way I do things now. I'm trying to become more of a storyteller, and I'm trying to bring humor into my spiels and kind of acting too. I just recently, the last 2 that I did, I'm actually kind of more performing on stage while I'm speaking. So like during my story time, I'm actually kind of like acting out, like a little bit acting out while I am doing my spiel to see the engagement difference. To me, it was a huge difference in the way that I showed up for the audience. And it was a huge difference in the way the audience responded back to me. That was actually 2 of the standing ovations I've had is during this new way that I'm doing it now. But even with that, I had notes. One of the most frustrating things that happened to me at one point is me feeling like I had my entire spiel memorized, which I did. But then at some point while I was up there, totally going blank, like literally just blank. So, having some sort of note card or anything that you can kind of pull out, refer to, nobody really cares. If there's a podium, I'll have a piece of paper. If we don't, I'll just have a note card of some sort that I can just kind of flip up really fast just to make sure I'm going in the correct order. That just really makes me feel more confident. And if you look to people like Tony Robbins, they have huge binders and huge notepads, and they have screens all over to keep you on task. So, be mindful of that. It might look like they don't have notes, but a lot of times these people have notes. That's why they can flow so nicely.
Sure.
And they don't ever hiccup. So, so practice. I take bullet points up on stage with me. Number 3. Ooh, what is number 3? I mean, I would make sure that I eat well. I take care of myself, a week or so in advance. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling light. I'm feeling non-bloated. I'm feeling confident in my skin, my body. I really harness health, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So I have some other questions I want to ask you, Sabrina, but before we do, let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor.
Are you a business owner or entrepreneur who's had great success in the business world, and now you want to launch a speaking career to share your message with the world? If that's you, then listen up. 25-year speaking industry veteran Brett Ridgway has released his latest special report, 3 key things entrepreneurs must master to build a profitable speaking business. To pick up your copy, go to brettridgway.com/freebie.
And we are back with the Spotlight on a Speaking Show. And my guest in this episode is Sabrina Victoria. So Sabrina, one of my favorite questions to ask my guest is, okay, it's time to bury yourself a little bit here. Maybe share an embarrassing moment in your speaking career where, you were blushing at the time, but it was a valuable lesson for yourself and something that you would highly advise an aspiring speaker not to do.
Yeah, I kind of already shared it. Sorry. But yeah, I literally forgot what I was going to say. I was gung ho in the middle of a spiel, probably 15 minutes in or so. It was probably like a 35 minute. And just I'm like all motivated. I'm all inspirational. I'm on a roll. And then all of a sudden, I don't even know. I went totally blank. And just stood there. Like, and then what happened is the anxiety starts to kick in of like, everyone knows this because I do pauses. I do long pauses in my spiels on purpose. It became obvious that it was not just a pause. It was like, there was something going on. So after that, like few seconds of like maybe 5 seconds pauses, that I do, or, I usually do maybe 3-second pauses or whatever, but there was like, once it got to like 5 to 7, I was like, oh crap, they know that something. So then the anxiety started to kick in. So then I was more like, oh my gosh, what are they thinking of me, rather than thinking about what I should be thinking about, which is what's the next thing I'm supposed to say. So I literally had to like readjust. I had to apologize. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Just give me a moment. And I had to like turn around to like kind of close the audience off to myself and like kind of visual. So I'm a visual person, which is why the bullet points work for me. So I had to like visualize my actual pieces of paper and like where I was in my spiel to like pull up the next bullet point of what it was. And it was probably only like 20 seconds or something.
Yeah,
It was
it seemed like 20 minutes though, didn't it?
But it feels so yes. But then I came back with just as much vigor and vim, and everything was fine. But I'm sure I was blushing. I know I was shaking. Like I got, for probably about a good 5 minutes after that, I was visibly shaking because I let myself, think too much. When you're doing stuff like that, you have to just trust that like you intellectually just know what's coming up. You can't be in your mind. You have to just be in the flow.
All right, so as we wind down to the end of our time together here, Sabrina, I'd like to give you the floor for a couple of minutes to tell people a little bit more about what you do specifically and how they can get involved in your world if they so choose.
Yeah, so we're working on building the largest all-female community on the planet. It's called Her Nation. Her Nation has 2 different containers in it. It has the teachers, mentors, coaches, and then it has the audience or the students. And it's a beautiful synergy because, very much what I was telling you before, we all are experts or authorities in an area, right? We can all teach thoroughly in an area, but it doesn't mean we can teach thoroughly in all the areas. So what it's creating is this teacher-student concept of, yes, show up powerfully in all the things you know as an authority, and show up vulnerable in areas that you're not so good at, so that another teacher, mentor, coach can show up powerfully for you. So it's a really awesome synergy that we are creating. It's women supporting women micro, and then women supporting humans macro, because we're able to take it into our community. And we host all kinds of things. We have a mastermind that we run. We do podcasting, panels, events, and stuff like that. But it's becoming a really beautiful place to be. And I don't remember what the other part of that was.
Where are they going to go online to find out more information if they're interested?
Awesome. So my website is easy. It's my name, SabrinaVictoria.com. And when you go there, you can see and find all of the other things, all the communities that I run, and my social media.
All right, very good. All right, well, I want to have sincerely thanks Sabrina for joining me in this episode of the Spotlight on Speaking show. Thank you, everybody, for listening or watching today. If you haven't been to spotlightonspeaking.com, please go there and register via your favorite service to be notified of upcoming episodes. And as always, I wish you the greatest of success in all that you do, and may this year be your greatest year yet. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
This has been the Spotlight on Speaking show with Brett Ridgway. Be sure to join us every week as we interview speaking industry pros and have them share their best tips for building a profitable speaking business. Until next week, thank you for tuning in, and remember to visit our website at spotlightonspeaking.com so you can enjoy even more great episodes like this one. While you're here, be sure to subscribe via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Spotlight on Speaking show. Until then, our sincere best wishes to you for the greatest of success as you work to build your own profitable speaking business.